Hey, everybody, welcome back again. Joe Marion, ASCDI. Our final educational session of the day has to do with IT, the IT Resellers Green New Deal. And I'm really honored to have Jan Hoekstraat here today from Free ITC, ICT, as well as Astrid Wynn from TechBuyer. And I wanted to, before you guys, I'm going to give you the stage, Jan and Ashton. I want to kind of talk a little bit about social responsibility. Some companies feel that it's they're social responsible because they follow or let me rephrase that. Some companies feel the need to be socially responsible, but it's only because they're forced by EU regulations. And we as an industry are lucky because some of those EU regulations are moving in our direction. And a lot of it has to do thanks to the two people that we have here with us today. They've been pushing that forward in our favor, but it's not only in the favor of our industry, but it's in the favor of our planet, of our children, and of our data. So they're protecting our planet, they're protecting our data, and they're helping grow our industry. So guys, I really, as I said before, I'm honored to have you here today, and just thank you for everything you've done for us. And with that, Jan, let me turn it over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a great setup, I have to say. I noticed at least two things today. First of all, I'm very worried about your road trip, as it seems that you need to go to the bathroom every 30 minutes.
Don't tell my wife that. She's going to be very angry when we stop every 30 minutes. But
okay. Next to that, you're standing all the time, so I think you're trying to look tall. But I'm not going to guess your height. But it reminds me of a guy from the Rolling Stones, the singer. He's also not that tall, and I don't know if he has something on the back of his head as well, but let's say.
Yeah, well, wait. Jan's referring to my COVID haircut, but I don't want to show it.
So let's. Okay, so let the jokes for what it is. One of the songs is that you can't always get what you want, and you want to get what you need. And I think this is one of it could be a subtitle also for Free ICT Europe. When you're involved with the European Commission and legislation, of course, it's often compromised. You win some, you lose. On the whole, I think we can be very proud of where we are today, and looking forward to everything we will accomplish in the coming years as well. So joining here, of course, as well, Astrid. Since the start of this year, also joined us as a board member, and of course, in her profession and function in TechBuyer, also a great asset to work with, and a pleasure. So let's quickly look on the things that we are doing. So the key pillars in there is that we try to lobby. I think. Especially when we started, we are representing businesses that are not really known by the general public, so let alone by MEPs or regulators. So that has been, let's say, the first journey to showcase what this market is about, the IT aftermarket, the players in there, from service providers and the ITED and the resellers/brokers, software maintenance companies. So we were more or less just opening eyes for things that nobody saw. And if you're not aware of something, you cannot take notice. And of course, also no legislation put in place. So then we participate in a number of studies and researches, also many researches that come before legislation is being developed. Of course, then the next step is legislation processes. We know the Eco-Design Lot 9 is for service and storage is probably the first one that jumps to mind when people think about Free ICT Europe. Next to that, we try to also inform and even be an advisor to the European Commission. We are a stakeholder, we are a member, official appointed member of the MSP ICT standardization. And you cannot work on your own, and so alliances are key to put your topics forward and to make them connected to the agenda, the political agenda. Okay, so that's the scope of our activities. Let's go to a next phase, because the Green Deal is a great word, and what's coming out of it on a high level. I think that the general consensus is really that the way we are have done business, how we did consume in the last decades, that needs to stop. It's clear that we are ruining the planet, and that's also here listed in the text, which is coming from the new Circular Action Plan, in which it's clearly said we need to do something about this. This is the top priority. Of course, we have also energy reduction and other topics that are high on the agenda, but this is more or less the biggest challenge there is. So how can we tackle that? And then especially in the field of IT, is circularity is key. Of course, steps have been made, but let's say that compared to what's needed, this was only just a hobby. Yes, we only took low-hanging fruit, easy stuff, and thought we were very proud on what we're doing. But at the end of the day, the difference needs to be way bigger between the behavior we had and what we need to do in the future. So one particular element is then coming up, so the resource efficiency. How are we using our resources? Can we reduce the number of raw materials that we are harvesting and mining? And see if we can, of course, also extend the product life cycle, which is a key element in which we could say our markets, we are the experts in that. So this is what we do. We refurbish, we resell, we maintain, extend the life cycle, make sure that the technical life is being maximized. So in here we are becoming a key partner. That's on the high level. What's stepping down to the next thing is that, okay, so the Green Deal, to translate that into to actions that are also affecting our businesses. It's all captured in the new Circular Action Plan, in which they say, okay, the Eco Design Directive, which is a set of actions and requirements for very specific products, needs to be expanded. We need to look at public procurement. We need to showcase also as the public sector that we need to adapt, that we will buy refurbished products, as been listed before. So we did put it on the agenda. Still a topic to be finalized, and also to make that mandatory across the European member states. Still some battles to be fought around this, and but this is just still limited because eco-design is only for a certain set of specific products. There's so much more. So they are now coming up with the Sustainable Products Initiative, which will capture all products more or less. So this is going to be huge. So we are just providing inputs in the coming weeks for that. And to take one thing out is, of course, we know that circularity needs to be a part of that. I think one of the key elements that the discovery is putting forward is that not always a product is representing the value it really has. Yes, some products are just being put on the market as an enabler for services. So they can be even sold below the cost price, etc. Well, that's not how we should treat our planet probably. So that's also one of the elements that we will put in there. And next to that, I'll mention, it's been mentioned before, right to repair. The normal movement around this is because it was predominantly set up around the right to repair of consumer products. So there was a large investigation by the MEPs, so from the European Parliament. We contributed to that report. And coming back to Mick Jagger, I think 8 of our 10 points were incorporated somehow. So we didn't get it all, but still we were very pleased that there's at least also clearly mentioned that this is also something that needs to be applied for B2B. I'm not sure if you are aware, but European legislation is mainly focused on protecting the consumer, you and me as a private person, and the B2B market is, well, you know, you need to make good contracts. So this is also a clear step that we have, we're able to identify that also in the B2B environment, there needs to be a protection layer, and not so much because of the businesses, the end users, but because we are playing with our planet with sustainability. Okay, so that's in a nutshell, on a high level, what's happening. I think one of the key elements to remember is that Europe made a shift like 4 years ago. Everything was about reducing energy consumption. Now the eyes are open and say, hey, now, yes, that's still important. But sometimes it will be the requirement is higher to extend the product life cycle compared to energy, which is of course sometimes the discussion you have when you're buying refurbished. It's using a little bit more power. Yes, it is, but down the line, this is what we need to do, and let's green the energy. Okay, let's move to the next slide, please. So so here you see data. One of the first elements when we were let's say lobbying in Brussels was, oh, that's all sounding very nice, but do you have data about your market? Yes, how many people are there working? How many businesses? Let's say that our market is not an expert in that. I'll come back to that later as well. But at least we are having some initiatives, and I'm giving the floor to Astrid to also showcase a little bit more about that. But maybe before that, Astrid, why do you think Free ICT Europe is important? Why would TechBuyer is also involved in this organization?
I think primarily it's an ethical decision. Well, not primarily. A big part of what we do is an ethical decision. We asked our staff members what the secondary market, what being part of the secondary market meant to them. One person came back with being on the right side of history, which kind of sums it up for us. On a practical level, there is no one else in Europe who's campaigning for the secondary market in the way that Free ICT Europe are. We are predominantly a group of reasonably small companies compared to the original equipment manufacturers. And unless we have a strong voice that's able to speak for us, we're going to have our business threatened, which is bad for paying wages, it's bad for growth, but it's also bad because the industry tends to attract people who are interested in the ethics of it, as well as the business side of it. So that's kind of why we strongly feel that we need to give it as much support as possible. And then you've got on the slide a piece of work that we did, which we think is interesting for the entire sector. We carried out a 2-year research project with the University of East London. And we started pulling apart servers and rebuilding them. And we started testing the performance and energy draw of refurbished and new equipment. And what we found was that there's no discernible difference between the performance and energy draw of like-for-like new and refurbished equipment. And we've got proof that's been validated by the IEEE on that. The second piece of interesting information is that you can upgrade an immediate past generation of server to have it outperform the base configuration of the latest generation, which means it proves that Moore's law is slowing down, and the kinds of efficiency gains that we saw 10 years ago don't apply. It's great for the server market, but we think it's great for the ICT market as well, because what you're looking at here is CPUs, storage and networking. So it's got a wider application than just our business. So we think it's quite a powerful piece of information that we hope everybody can use as ammunition. And we'd love to hear of other companies who do something similar in their sectors, that kind of lend weight to what we're saying with the science.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Hey, Astrid, I have a quick question of you. Your title, which it amazes me or interests me, sustainability manager, right? What does a say sustainability manager? What do you do? What is your job title?
It depends on the company. So we've actually retitled me and called me sustainability lead, because I think with companies like ours, sustainability is built into what we do. It's just a question of making that as efficient as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. And part of that's in your core business, and the way that you run and the way that you standardize and the way that you make what you do the best it can be. Part of it is in partnerships to make that part of the mainstream. And that's where, partnership with Jan's organization really comes in. Mm-hmm. And then it's all the good stuff, so we've got guys in our warehouse who've built literally built a repairs facility, and software that takes care of that, and they're logging it and all that sort of stuff. So it's about keeping track of that, helping where I can, with desktop research and putting them in touch with people that I might meet at conferences. It's I suppose a sustainability lead, I think it depends on the company that you work for.
Sure.
It depends on what they do and how you make that better.
Mm-hmm. But it's a job that didn't exist, 5 years ago.
No, I guess it kind of, it didn't exist 5 years ago. I suppose for this sector, it might well have been the research manager or research facilitator or something like that. But it's definitely part of a mainstream conversation now. Mm-hmm. And having sustainability managers is quite good for talking to customers and the wider sector.
Well, because in the old days you would talk to the IT manager. Today you're talking to your counterpart at the large companies, who's responsible for sustainability and the circular economy. It's a different conversation.
Yeah, and you do have to. Yes. It is a different beginning to the conversation. I think usually it ends up in the same place. It ends up as cost and performance. That's what sells it. But it's a nice add-on.
Yeah. Jan, back to you. Sorry, I stepped in.
Yeah. First you did reduce the required time that I was making up additional.
No, I'm not going to extend your time. That's okay.
Friends anymore. So it's okay. Let's. Besides that, she's in panels, participating in conferences. She's showcasing the value of our market also across different channels, also to governments, etc. So very good. Let's move on because.
So Jan, I stuck in that slide that you sent me early this morning. I don't know if you wanted.
No. Just leave that for if there's a question about it. Yeah.
You got it.
Okay. So as a number of the actions that we're taking, not everything is listed. Let's see, we have another 10 minutes. Quickly go. So eco-design, product specific. So we are still active in lot 9 service and storage. There will be developments. The review will be starting this year, probably. So we know that firmware has been arranged. Still a topic as we are still discussing the possible fee that can be asked for providers to do so. If you're talking more about the side of ITAD and recycling, also in the review, because currently the manufacturers need to list information about the cobalt in the batteries, they need to neodymium in the hard disk drives. But also additional information is probably going to be required for, I need to check, tantalum, gallium, dysprosium, and palladium. So we see that critical resources are becoming more and more important. I quickly go now to the point where it is highlighted, action plan, and especially focus on the action, because there's action required from the people from Europe that are participating. And Joe will share a document about this. A big arrow is to networking equipment, because in the new action plan, new products are being selected to be worked out under the scope of eco-design. Hence, the thing we did include in the lot 9 with firmware or with information about the raw materials or elements like data erasure, etc. It's all going to be then applied to the new product groups as well. In this action plan, currently, 3 things are very important to ours, and I need to address this is really a big win. It started last year, a year ago, with a large group of possible products where network equipment, enterprise network equipment, was not even listed. We're now having this listed in the top 16 in the suggestion to be adopted. It's now just the point that the EU has an open consultation. Any citizen or company in Europe can respond to this. And so we kindly ask you to raise your voice, click on the link, register yourself. You can post your comments anonymously if you want to, but please support especially the selection of network equipment to this. It's also addressing firmware and software as the second, as well, also one of the 16. We're also very much involved into this. So your support for that is also required. UPS systems will be the third one that's applicable to our market. So if you see that from the 16 different product groups and initiatives, we are 3 that are affecting our market. Please take notice of this and give your support. So we do the lobby, green procurement. I talked about that a little bit before that. So having in there that ITAD from the, let's say, non-OEM, so the independent ITADs to be promoted a bit more. It has been reduced, but still you are being mentioned in there in the current text. The SEDASI project is focusing on the to come also with a tool, but also showcasing information, guiding end users to use refurbished equipment is one of the key elements. Let me just quickly go to the spotlight of software. We will have a press conference next week, I think, in Brussels. So it will be virtual, where we will be talking a lot more about software, because this is going to be key in anything. Also, the software is just a part of hardware, and so there needs to be more attention to that. We will also have a special speaking session about this in the standardization committee. So we are really making some project, some process on this, and taking action. It's one of our key points. Next to the next one, it's a product as a service is being put on the market as a very sustainable business model, and we are trying to showcase that for some elements or products on the market. That's absolutely the case. If you're talking about IT products, and especially enterprise IT, this is blocking the reuse. It's putting the power with the manufacturers. There's maybe a danger that we do not have enough systems become available on the market, etc., etc. We need to highlight, for us, this is a different ball game, and so that will take some effort. But to us, we think this is a key element to make sure that the independent market is able to proceed. And on the other hand, it's also a challenge, because maybe just like we saw that companies were adapting to also provide some cloud services, etc., that also the independent market needs to be able to provide product as a service, or having setups like pay-per-use, etc. The core elements cannot be fought. Yes, we're not fighting the windmill of product as a service as it is, but we need to have additional regulation and make sure that the market stays as open as possible, because the circular economy cannot be built with all kind of subsystems under the control of OEMs. I think that's one of the core messages. Yes, it should be one ecosystem, not a sum of all separate ecosystems. So I think that's another key element of where we will put our energy in this, and for that it's something we do with passion, I would say. I mentioned the report that we did make together with Deloitte. If you go to this website, there's the option to download it free of charge. I did showcase another report that we made for the EU here in the blog. That's confidential, but for especially the ones that are active in network equipment, please reach out to us, and I'm absolutely willing to share that. It's been made, just really for the European Commission with support of some of the organizations. At the end, I need to say we also need to be fueled. So for that, contributions and donations are more than welcome. It is, of course, always related. We can only do the work that we're also able to pay. We have also a lobbyist that's working for us. If you're in Europe and see what we can do, what we are already doing for you and the future of your business, I hope you truly consider and step up to us and shoot an email in the coming days. Say, okay, guys, we want to support you. Okay.
Yeah, Jan, thank you. And let me add my 2 cents to that too. Yeah, these lobbyists aren't cheap. ASCDI has used them in the past, and they cost a lot of money. So anything that you got, any little bit will help. If you contact Jan at Free ICT, and by the way, Jan, we'll be sharing your contact information following this meeting, as well as that report you asked us to share. So we'll share all that with all the attendees. But guys, look at Jan, look at Free ICT, and do what you can to support them, because they're doing a great job for us in Europe. So thank you for that, Jan, and Astrid.
Yeah, it's all a bit only the highlights that we're working on. I can show you some other smaller projects, but it's still quite some battles. But also it's sometimes very, very nice to see how in a number of years we are established, how we are being contacted. Like Astrid and me, we're raising the issue for just one other example. It's just a small thing. Yep. We all talk about refurbishment, but there's no good definition about refurbished products. There's no good definition, and the point is that it's now coming up in local laws or national laws, and that's affecting different parts of the business and causing problems. So we reached out to say, okay, we need to have a definition, and all of a sudden, because of the connections, we are on the table with the right people who can initiate something and say we try to have something in 3 months' time. Well, if you're working in Brussels, 3 months' time is just nothing. Yeah. So I'm not promising that, but it's to just showcase that altogether we did accomplish something. And although we are, of course, very small, and the lobby groups of the OEMs you can't compare. But on the other hand, we have a good message. We are working together on a good way. Yep. And we are really making progress that's also beneficial for our market. Yes.
Yep. Well, again, thank you for that. Yeah, very, very important message. Folks, we're going to start, excuse me, we're going to do our favorite beverage hour. We're going to start that, excuse me, right now. What you need to do is, if you look on your screen, you'll see a button that says networking. If you click on that, what it'll do is it'll set you up with 3-minute networking opportunities with all the other attendees at this event. So get ready to kind of give them your speech about what your company's on, and then move on to the next one. We want to thank you. We want to thank you for being ASCDI members, for your support of the ASCDI. The industry's changing. It's changing very rapidly, very quickly. and we want to be part of the change and make sure that the change helps our environment, helps our children, protects our data. Those are key messages. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Join you over on the networking session right now. Thanks a lot, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, John.